Check your blood pressure. We are back again here at the meeting, highlighting some even more disturbing symptoms of a disease on America that we call out of order. We start with a matter closest to all of our hearts, at least physically, and that is our wallets and our purses. Starting next year, Bank of America will start charging its best customers, those of you who dutifully pay off your balance every month. Bank of America will create a new fee for you just because they cannot make enough money on responsible customers. Even worse, Citigroup has already started charging annual fees to customers who don't charge enough on their cards, punishing those fiscally responsible people who try to just use their credit cards for emergencies. Well, how do they keep getting away with these types of shenanigans where they charge their best customers fees to use credit cards that they never use? Well, news coming out that the massive lobbying group, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, has just spent a record $34.7 million lobbying hard against specific legislation like that same Consumer Financial Protection Agency impassionately promoted on our show by advocates like Elizabeth Warren and others. This so-called voice of business, the Chamber of Commerce, throwing around millions of dollars, even as Apple, Nike, and others withdraw their support of the bought organization. The organization that claims that legislation to regulate credit cards would hurt small business by making it difficult for small businesses to wind up credit card debt to start their businesses.
This CFPA credit squeeze could result in business closures, fewer startups, slower growth, ultimately costing a significant number of jobs, or that would either be lost or simply not created.
You could take that direct quote and apply it to the current financial policies in this country of corporate communism that deprive all of us of the capital our nation is entitled to in order to subsidize the gambling parlor that Wall Street became. Here's a crazy idea. If you need to stimulate small businesses, why don't we, the taxpayer, just have the government lend our tax money to small businesses directly at low rates and cut the big banks who have no money and use our money to speculate wildly in the financial markets purely so they can pay themselves billions of dollars in bonuses? Why are we giving them our money to do that? And finally, speaking of the banks, their worthless assets and their use of taxpayer money to incur billion-dollar bonuses for themselves, as Goldman Sachs did just last week, as J.P. Morgan did just last week, the final insult to injury from our government comes today from our friends, in this case, I should say, at Goldman Sachs. Brian Griffiths, Goldman Sachs international advisor, explaining in public that his company's outrageous compensation made playing a parlor game funded by taxpayers. He explained why at a conference on morality and markets in London.
I'm not a person of despair, I'm a person of hope. And I think that we have to tolerate the inequality as a way to achieving greater prosperity and opportunity for all.
He called on bankers to boost their charitable giving to help fix the banking industry's tarnished reputation. He said, quote, "To whom much is given, much is expected. There is a sense that if you make money, you're going to give. Making money is different, however, than stealing money. If you steal the money, you are not expected to give it to a charity, my friends. If you steal the money, we will take the money back from you by way of the government and put you in jail." The American taxpayer, in fact, has given trillions of dollars, billions directly to Goldman Sachs so that Goldman can use the taxpayer subsidy to play a parlor game and pay themselves record bonuses. This is not capitalism. So far, Goldman Sachs has paid back $10 billion of the more than $50 billion that they received, no strings attached, from the Secretary of the Treasury, Tim Geithner, his predecessor, Secretary Paulson, and the Fed chief, Ben Bernanke. So what's the fix? Well, here are three possible courses of action for all of us starting right now, today, what you can do right now. Take your money out of the big bank and move it right now into a small community bank or credit union. You can do that. The only other way to affect real change in this country other than our vote is in deciding what we do with our untaxed money. No one in this country can force you to use these giant banks that take your money as a speculation tool to pay themselves bonuses. If you're really teed off, use cash. Very simple. As much as possible, use cash, not credit cards. The banks at this point don't own the printing presses directly. They just have the use of the printing press by way of the Treasury Department to speculate with. But the banks can't make money off of all of us if the money doesn't pass through the bank. And then most importantly, call or email your congressman. There is no more effective way in a non-election year to have your voice heard than to do this and demand a hearing. Why was our money given without any strings attached? The answers to those questions lie in the heads of Hank Paulson, Tim Geithner, and Ben Bernanke, and the American people deserve an answer. If you don't know how to contact your representation, go to dylan.msnbc.com, bottom left corner. Heed the call, a direct link to all of your representation.